Narster 1. The jungle of power. Understanding human nature is the first rule of leadership. Secrets of Chinese sages. The world operates like a jungle. Animals survive with claws and fangs. Humans survive with strategy and thought. Some people control others because they know what others don't. The ultimate secret is the ability to manipulate human nature. This truth is not easy to accept, but it is the foundation of all real power. Human nature has two sides, light and dark. Never rely on kindness. Never trust character too deeply. Only systems and rules can restrain the darkness inside people. There is a saying, people don't betray because they're evil. They betray because the cost of betrayal is too low. When the reward is great enough, loyalty fades. This is why smart leaders never build systems based on trust. They build systems that make betrayal impossible. In ancient times, grave robbers worked in pairs. One man entered the tomb, the other held the rope above. Many were killed, not by traps, but by betrayal. The man above would see gold and cut the rope. To solve this, they formed father-son teams. Even then, betrayal continued. So they created a strict rule. The son goes down, the father stays up. From that day, betrayal stopped, not because people got better, because the system did. In another story, 7 people shared one pot of porridge. They took turns dividing it. Each time the divider gave themselves the most, the rest stayed hungry. Then they chose the most virtuous person to divide it every day. But soon he began taking bribes. Corruption followed. Finally, they found the right rule. The divider must take the last bowl after everyone else has chosen. Now everyone received a fair share, not because people were good, because the rule left no room for greed. Same people, same porridge. Different rule, different result. This is leadership. A good system makes bad people behave. A bad system turns good people corrupt. Mercy without control is weakness. Trust without oversight is danger. True leadership balances both. Totter 2. Balancing Power, the Emperor's Strategy. Secrets of Chinese Sages. A good system protects the leader. A broken system threatens him from within. In every organization, power must be balanced. If one subordinate grows too strong, they become a threat. Even when promotions are necessary, another person must be elevated to balance the first. Never allow one side to dominate. This is the art of balancing power. If one faction dares to betray you, other factions must be ready to crush them. A wise leader never relies only on the loyal nor only on the cunning. When the loyal grow too powerful, use the cunning. When the cunning grow dangerous, rely on the loyal. Balance must always be maintained. Many wonder why emperors often distance themselves from their most loyal officials, why favor traitors over the devoted. Because when loyalty becomes too powerful, it becomes dangerous. Too much loyalty turns into ambition. To control the loyal, emperors used the cunning. Not because they trusted them, but because the cunning had no power base. They were useful tools of balance. A great ruler constantly plays both sides. As long as they fight each other, the throne is safe. But if they stop fighting, they will turn against the throne. Liu Bang, founder of the Han Dynasty, understood this well. After unifying the empire, he spent 8 years eliminating powerful warlords and gave land to his relatives. He believed blood ties were more trustworthy. History proved otherwise. When outsiders rebel, they seek separation. When relatives rebel, they want the throne. Liu Bang didn't kill all founding generals. He kept some alive to counterbalance his royal kin. The two sides checked each other, and Liu Bang ruled from the center. After his death, his relatives did rebel. But the surviving generals acted fast and crushed the uprising. Balance had been preserved by design, not chance. Stage 3, the hidden danger of power. Why great leaders never trust good intentions. Secrets of Chinese sages. In organizations across the country, the same pattern repeats. The greatest threat to a leader often comes from within, from someone they once trusted. If a single subordinate grows too powerful, they become a source of constant fear. If there is no balance, managing the team becomes a struggle for survival. Power must be distributed. Power must be controlled. To a leader, power is life. Every decision must protect it. A director's reputation doesn't matter. Their talent doesn't matter. Their loyalty doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is this: can they rebel? If the answer is yes, they must be removed. Not because they want to rebel, but because they have the ability to do so. Kangxi, one of China's greatest emperors, removed generals like Ao Bai and Wu Sangui, not because they were disloyal, but because they were capable of rebellion. In ancient times, legitimacy was everything. As long as you were royal, even as a child, people would support your rule. But if your origins were unclear, no one would accept you. They would crush you as a traitor. Ao Bai and Wu Songui didn't dare rebel, but Kangxi eliminated them anyway. It was the only way to ensure stability. And he didn't strike openly. He acted in silence. He isolated them, weakened their power, removed their allies, assigned them to harmless positions, then crushed them when they were defenseless. If you follow official procedures to remove a threat, you give them time to prepare. Anyone capable of rebellion is capable of destruction. They must be dismantled step by step, cut off their influence, reduce their authority, strip away their support, and set traps they cannot escape. This is the strategy of silent elimination. Do not warn, do not explain, just erase. Darfur, divide to rule, the art of weakening threats without starting a war of Chinese sages. During the Western Han Dynasty, the power of the regional lords grew dangerously strong. Emperor Jing faced the threat of rebellion. A minister named Chao Kuo proposed a direct solution: strip the lords of land and power. The advice was correct, but it triggered a massive revolt known as the Rebellion of the Seven States. To prove he wasn't behind the decision, Emperor Jing executed Chao Kuo. The strategy was sound, but the method was too blunt. Years later, his son Emperor Wu faced the same threat, but instead of attacking head-on, he used a more elegant approach. He introduced a method called thinning the seals. He appointed the relatives of the powerful lords to official positions. One became a mayor, another became a governor, a third became a military officer. Slowly, the power of the lords was divided among their own family members. Each one had their own interests, their own territory, their own agenda. No one held total power. When conflict arose, these relatives no longer stood with the Lord. They protected their personal gains. The family became fragmented. The power of the Lord dissolved. There was no war, no public execution, just quiet, irreversible decay. This is how true power works. It removes threats not with fire, but with silence. Not through force, but through design. 5. The Emperor's Blueprint: How to Rewire the Minds of Your People. Secrets of Chinese Sages. A company is a kingdom. The boss is the emperor. Managers are ministers. Employees are the common people. Leading a company is not about being kind. It is about building control that feels like loyalty. The first principle: what the ruler learns must contradict what the people learn. If you want to master leadership, you must first unlearn what you believe to be good. Then learn what you once believed was wrong. As an employee, you were taught values like truth, kindness, and beauty. But as a ruler, you must study power, manipulation, and control. Yes, you must care about your people. You must have compassion. But that is not enough. Many kind bosses are destroyed by their own employees. Why? Because they lack the tools to defend themselves. To lead, you need more than a good heart. You need structure, systems, and the ability to shape belief. The core of control is changing values. A person's worldview is formed early in life. To change it is to replace their mental foundation. This takes repetition and affirmation, over and over again. There's an old saying, half of the intellects is enough to govern a nation. But here's the truth. The intellects were not written to help leaders. They were written to control the people. They teach obedience, virtue, ritual, trust, not to empower, but to bind. And yet today, many bosses read them as leadership manuals. They are reading the manual meant for their workers and unknowingly brainwashing themselves. The result? They become soft. They become weak. They lose control. You want employees to be calm and stable? Have them read the I Ching. You want them to work harder? Feed them inspiring movies and stories of perseverance. You don't have time to do this every day. So you must build a culture that does it for you. Let the culture reprogram them. What kind of people do you want? Feed them those thoughts daily until they become it. And remember, do not teach them yourself. Let them absorb it alone. When you were a child, your teacher wrote the word pig on the board. You read it again and again. You copied it 10 times at home. Years later, you see the word, you say it instantly. No doubt, no hesitation. This is how values are embedded. Not by understanding, by repetition. But even the best programming will fail if your company does not create real value. If your business is unprofitable and you refuse to share rewards with your team, they will never be loyal. No matter how clever your system is, control is not about deceit. It is about alignment. When your people believe in your dream, when they feel rewarded, when they trust the system, they become strong. They become your army. 6. The power of environment, shaping loyalty without words. Secrets of Chinese sages. There's an old saying, when the nest is ready, the phoenix will come. Human needs are simple, mental peace and physical comfort. If both are satisfied, people become loyal without being asked. In companies across the country, the highest performing teams all share one trait. They feel cared for, not just in salary, but in daily life. Leaders in these companies do more than pay well. They provide excellent meals, comfortable housing, even daily essentials, ready, clean, waiting. Why? Because comfort is addictive, and once someone gets used to it, they can't let it go. Zhang Ruimin, a legendary business leader, understood this deeply. He gave his workers the best food, the best housing, better than most middle-class citizens. Many believed he was simply kind, but in truth, he was strategic. When someone becomes used to luxury, they fear losing it more than anything. People can adapt from poor to rich, but going from rich to poor breaks them. This is where true loyalty begins, not from the heart, but from fear of discomfort. The logic is simple. If you want to ruin someone, let them live too comfortably for too long. Once they settle into comfort, they lose the strength to leave. They stop exploring. They stop risking. They stay. This is not cruelty. This is design. A smart leader builds an environment so good that no one wants to leave it. Not because they are loyal, but because they cannot bear what's outside. It's the 7. The psychology of influence. The silent power of framing. Secrets of Chinese sages. The ancients developed a powerful technique to control people without force. It is the art of mental framing, guiding others into decisions before they realize they've chosen. It works by bypassing logic and triggering automatic responses. For example, a friend asks, "Would you like something to drink?" You say no. But if they ask, "Would you prefer coffee or green tea?" You suddenly pick one without meaning to. This is not persuasion, it's pre-selection. The moment someone accepts your frame, they start playing by your rules. Another example, you're walking down the street. Someone hands you a camera and says, "Could you take a photo for us?" Almost everyone agrees without hesitation. No one stops to question it. The mind reacts before the will intervenes. In love, this technique also works. A man asks, "Will you be my girlfriend?" She hesitates. She may say no, but if he simply holds her hand at the right moment and doesn't let go, she reacts without resistance. He creates a frame, and she responds inside it. This is how the subconscious works. At one restaurant, a waiter asks, "Would you like to add an egg?" Most say no. At another, the waiter says, "With your noodles, would you like 1 egg or 2?" Most say 1. The choice was already accepted. Another case, a customer says, "This is too expensive." Salesman replies, "It's not expensive, the quality is excellent." The customer leaves. Salesman B says, "Would you like it to be cheaper? I can add a free gift." Now the customer is listening. Then he says, "I'll ask for a discount and add something extra." The customer agrees. Why? Because the conversation never became a conflict. It stayed within the frame. The customer never felt attacked, only guided. This is the essence of mental control. Don't argue, don't explain, don't convince. Frame, guide, close. The goal is to break fixed thought patterns and lead the mind into a low energy state, a blank space where resistance vanishes. In that moment, control becomes effortless, invisible, complete. End of part 7, to be continued. Sasha 8, The Power of Mystery, Why Leaders Must Remain Hidden, Secrets of Chinese Sages. Mystery creates authority. In 1932, a French president once said, "There is no prestige without mystery. Familiarity breeds contempt. The more people know you, the less they fear you. The closer they get, the less they respect. A true leader must be like a statue in a deep temple, rarely seen, never touched, always revered. Your plans, your thoughts, your emotions must be impossible to read. The moment people understand you, you lose control." The same man once said, "I am a solitary man, and I love that solitude." Silence builds distance. Distance builds power. 3,000 years ago, in a land called Media, there lived a tribal leader named Deos. He was known for fairness and wisdom. Whenever disputes arose over land, water, or honor, people sought his judgment. Other elders grew corrupt. Deos remained pure. He became the soul of justice in the tribe. But one day he grew tired and stepped down. Without him, chaos erupted. Arguments broke out, factions formed. The people begged him to return. He refused many times, until finally he agreed under one condition. They must build him a palace deep in the forest. He would live in seclusion, guarded by soldiers. No one could see him directly. If they needed him, they had to go through a trusted messenger. Even his servants were only allowed to see him once a week. From that day, his power grew. He said less, yet meant more. His silence became sacred, his image untouchable. Deos became king. He united the tribes, he built the foundations of a great empire. That empire became Persia. This is the power of mystery. A leader should never be too close. Your employees must not see your true thoughts. Your friends must not see your weaknesses. Keep your distance. Protect your silence. Guard your mind. When you become too familiar, you become ordinary. When you are ordinary, you are no longer feared, and without fear, there is no power. End of part 8. To be continued. 9. The law of emotional distance. Why leaders must never get too close. Secrets of Chinese sages. A leader must maintain emotional distance, not because they are cold, but because closeness is dangerous. If your subordinates can read your emotions, they will start managing your mood instead of doing their job. If they know your weaknesses, they will use them. If they know your preferences, they will manipulate them. The moment you become predictable, you become controllable. There is a hidden law of leadership. The one who reveals less holds more power. Maintain physical distance. Limit your presence. Control your exposure. This doesn't mean isolating yourself completely. It means staying just far enough that no one can pierce the shield of authority. In history, the most powerful rulers rarely appeared in public. They communicated through messengers. They spoke in riddles. They gave commands through symbols, gestures, and rituals. Their mystery became their armor. Their absence made their presence stronger. A leader who becomes too friendly invites rebellion without realizing it. Personal bonds blur professional boundaries. Favoritism grows, discipline breaks, and soon the system collapses. You can be respected, you can be admired, but never be familiar. Closeness kills control. Silence preserves command. Distance protects power. End of part 9, to be continued. Tosh 10. The balance of loyalty and cunning, how to control without siding. Secrets of Chinese sages. A wise leader never trusts one side completely. You must never rely solely on the loyal, nor solely on the clever. Each group has strengths. Each group has dangers. When the loyal grow too powerful, they become bold. Their loyalty turns into entitlement. They begin to believe they deserve everything, even the throne. When the cunning grow too powerful, they become corrosive. They manipulate, they deceive, they poison your court from the inside. So the master strategy is this. Use loyalty to restrain cunning. Use cunning to restrain loyalty. Let them compete. Let them watch each other. Let them fear each other more than they fear you. This is control. When your followers are too united, they can rise together. When they are divided, they keep each other in check. Emperors of old played this game with precision. They empowered both factions, then weakened them alternately. They favored one just long enough to frighten the other. Balance must never stop. The seesaw must never settle. If they fight each other, you are safe. But if they ever unite, they will turn against you. Let no side rise too high. Let no side feel secure. This is not paranoia. It is preservation. Control the balance or be swallowed by it, to be continued. Shu 11, the Emperor's Knife, removing threats before they strike. Secrets of Chinese sages. A leader must remove threats before they fully form. Not when they rebel, but when they could. The desire to rebel comes after the ability to rebel, not before. This is why powerful subordinates must be dealt with before they become dangerous, not because they are evil, but because they are capable. In ancient China, the Qing Emperor Kangxi faced two such men, Ao Bai and Wu Sangui. They had military power, wealth, and reputation. They did not rebel, but they could have. That was enough. In ancient politics, legitimacy mattered more than strength. If you were of royal blood, you could rule, even as a child. But if your bloodline was unclear, you were a traitor waiting to be killed. Ao Bai and Wu Sangui knew this. They had no intention of rebelling, but Kangxi eliminated them anyway. Not because of what they planned, but because of what they could plan. And he didn't confront them directly. He isolated them. He cut their influence. He removed their allies. He assigned them harmless roles. Then, when the moment was right, he struck, silently, cleanly, completely. This is the art of elimination. If you follow normal procedures, they will have time to react. And anyone who can rebel can also sabotage you before you succeed. You must act like boiling a frog, slowly, quietly, without alarm. First, isolate, then weaken, then corner, then erase. No warning, no drama, no noise. This is not cruelty, it is necessary violence, applied with precision. Chapter 12. The strategy of delayed execution, how to sacrifice without losing power. Secrets of Chinese sages. During the early Han Dynasty, the emperor's power was threatened by regional kings. They controlled armies, land, and people, and they were growing restless. Minister Cao Kuo proposed a direct solution: weaken them, take their lands, strip their power. The strategy was correct, but it came too fast, too openly. The kings revolted. 7 kingdoms rose in rebellion. Emperor Jing faced the edge of collapse. To survive, he had to make a move. He executed Cao Kuo. Cao was loyal. His plan was sound, but he had become the symbol of imperial ambition. To calm the rebellion, he was sacrificed. This was not justice, it was survival. But his death taught a lesson to his son, Emperor Wu. Years later, Emperor Wu faced the same problem. The regional kings were strong again, but this time he used a different method. He didn't attack directly. He didn't issue harsh commands. Instead, he used a strategy called thinning the seals. He divided their power among their relatives. One brother became a mayor, another a general, a nephew, a magistrate. Soon, no single man controlled everything. Loyalty fractured, power splintered, and when rebellion became a thought, the family turned inward. No one wanted to risk losing their personal gains. The kings were surrounded, not by enemies, but by their own blood. Emperor Wu had destroyed rebellion without lifting a sword. This is the art of delayed execution. Don't strike first. Spread weakness, divide power, make rebellion impossible, not just unwise. Control isn't always about strength. Sometimes it's about patience. End of part 12. 13. Brainwashing through culture, how to shape belief without resistance. Secrets of Chinese sages. The deepest form of control is not command, it is belief. When your people believe what you want them to believe, you no longer need to give orders. They act on their own within your design. The key is repetition, daily exposure, cultural immersion. Don't just tell your team what to think. Surround them with the ideas you want them to absorb. Turn inspiration into habit. Turn values into reflex. Some companies make employees read the I Ching daily. Others show motivational videos, stories of persistence, triumph over adversity. But doing this manually every day is exhausting. That's why the best leaders embed it in the company culture. A strong culture repeats the same message in different forms, in posters, slogans, meetings, routines, traditions, celebrations. If you want loyalty, feed them loyalty. If you want ambition, feed them ambition. If you want obedience, feed them structure. Let them hear it, see it, repeat it, until it becomes part of them, and never deliver it directly. Let them discover it themselves. When a child learns a word, they don't question it. They hear it, repeat it, write it, live with it. Years later, it becomes automatic. That's how values work. If your people repeat a value enough times, it becomes theirs, even if it was never true to begin with. This is how empires are built. This is how loyalty becomes instinct. To be continued. 14. Comfort as a weapon. How to trap loyalty through daily life. There is a secret to keeping people loyal. Make them too comfortable to leave. A powerful leader once said, if you want to destroy someone, give them comfort and keep them in it long enough. Eventually, they lose their hunger. They forget how to fight. They become soft. In elite companies, the most effective form of control is not rules, it's lifestyle. Provide the best meals, clean rooms, free supplies, entertainment, convenience. Soon your team is not staying for the mission, they're staying for the comfort. This isn't kindness, it's strategy. The more they enjoy their environment, the more they fear leaving it. The outside world becomes unfamiliar, risky, harsh. Even if they're offered more money elsewhere, they hesitate, because money is only one part of life. Comfort is the other, and people fear losing comfort more than they crave gain. Haidilao, one of China's most successful companies, understood this. Their employees lived better than many white-collar workers. Some even ate and slept better than their own boss. People called the founder generous. But he wasn't generous. He was smart. He knew, once you create a comfort zone, people will chain themselves to it. And once they're chained, you don't need to hold them. They'll never walk away. This is control through design. Build the nest, and the bird never flies. 14, to be continued. 15, the 4 psychological tactics, how to control without resistance. Secrets of Chinese sages. True control is not forced, it is accepted, not because the mind agrees, but because it stops questioning. Ancient masters developed psychological traps to influence people without triggering defense. First tactic, forced framing. A friend asks, "Would you like something to drink?" You say no, but if they ask coffee or tea, you choose one without realizing you never wanted either. You've entered the frame, and once you're inside, the battle is over. Second tactic, triggered automation. A stranger hands you a camera and says, "Could you take our photo?" You take it. No resistance, no thought, just response. The subconscious obeys before the conscious mind wakes up. Third tactic, action before question. A man asks, "Will you be my girlfriend?" The answer may be no. But if, during a movie, he gently holds her hand and doesn't let go, she may never object. No permission was asked. No rejection was invited. The mind followed the act. Fourth tactic, presumed choice. At one restaurant, the waiter asks, "Would you like to add an egg?" Most say no. At another, the waiter asks, "With your noodles, 1 egg or 2?" Most say 1. They were never offered the option to decline, and yet they agreed. This is not magic, it's structure. By controlling the question, you control the answer. By shaping the moment, you shape the behavior. This is how wise rulers ruled. Not with armies, but with design. End of part 15. To be continued. 16. The art of suggestion. How to lead minds without ever leading. The most advanced form of control is suggestion. You don't give orders. You don't even give instructions. You create a path and let others choose it on their own. But it's not really their choice. It's yours, planted inside their mind. A customer says, "This is too expensive." Salesman A replies, "It's not expensive. The quality is high." The customer walks away. Salesman B replies, "Would you prefer it cheaper? How about I include a free gift?" Now the customer pauses. They feel acknowledged. They feel in control. Then the salesman adds, "I'll try to get you a discount too." Suddenly, the customer agrees. What happened? He was never pressured. He was guided. He wasn't argued with. He was offered options. This is the principle. People resist pressure. They rarely resist design. Offer 2 choices. Both lead to your goal. Ask questions that assume agreement. Create scenarios that bypass resistance. Let the answer feel like theirs, even if it was always yours. In ancient tactics, this was called leading with softness. You shape the outcome before the decision exists. No conflict, no resistance, just movement. This is how empires were built, not by crushing minds, but by owning them. 17. Breaking the mind. How to collapse thought and enter the subconscious. Secrets of Chinese sages. The highest level of influence is not persuasion. It is interruption. You don't need to convince the other person. You only need to break their current thought and insert your own. This is called disruption of cognitive flow. When someone is in a fixed mindset, logic won't move them, but confusion will. If you interrupt their expectations, you open a gap. In that gap, you can enter. The goal is to push the mind into a blank state, also known by ancient strategists as the lowest energy point. At that point, people don't resist. They follow. Here's how it works. A customer is deciding whether to buy. Instead of pushing harder, you ask an unrelated question. Blink. They blink. They hesitate. In that pause, you make your offer again, and this time, they accept. Not because they changed their mind, but because the pattern was broken. A general example. Ask someone, "Are you happy?" They may say yes or no, but ask, "Are you happier on weekdays or weekends?" Now they're no longer judging happiness itself, they're comparing options. The deeper question is bypassed. This is pattern redirection. You don't block the mind, you shift it sideways. The result feels natural, but it's guided. This is how the ancients led men into war, into surrender, into loyalty. They didn't crush thought, they rerouted it. They didn't force obedience, they created silence. And in that silence, they planted power.